Hey everyone, this is Dr. Nabia Kelly with Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. Thank you for joining us today. We are on an amazing journey preparing for our podcast. Do me a favor before we even go into the episodes. Just begin to like, subscribe on below, share, tag, click the link and give it to someone. And also remember, do the notification tab that when we come on, we pop up. We have some awesome guests. We have people who are coming to drop some gems as they spill the tea in their industries, and we're looking forward for a dynamic time. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you. We look forward to engaging with you, and as you spill the tea, we shall pour into you. All right. Today, welcome. This is Dr. Nabia Kelly with your host, your podcaster, your famous female podcaster that's coming to your location right where you are. We are here in the studio where it's Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. We have a powerful guest in the building. And one of the things I want to say is that you better grab a hold of your seats because I got some impromptus for this particular podcast series. Okay. Amen. So I love you all. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining. And I look forward to seeing you all on the other side, right? But today, I have a guest in the audience and I have a guest in the studio. My brother is on today. His name is Josh Randall. Yeah. And I just want to introduce you and tell you thank you for coming. I'm excited that you are here. Yeah. You are actually the first man to grace this podcast. I had to switch it up a little bit because, sometimes we as women, we kind of lose men's perspective and we need both. Sure. So we can thrive. So I just want to talk for a moment. You could be very transparent, be free to speak. I know I don't got to tell you that. Yes. Because he'll have us on the phone for like 3, 4, 5 hours, right? And I'll be like, you know what? I got to call overseas or something. But listen, we have people in the audience and people, if there's any questions that you have for me, feel free. Because as you spill the tea, you're going to pour back into me and I'm going to pour into you, right? So just tell the people about yourself a little bit.
Well, man, where do I begin? My name is Joshua Randall. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Went to school, in Birmingham, of course. Went to the university. Well, I went to junior college first in Kansas, in Pratt, Kansas, in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So did 2 years there, junior college basketball. And transitioned from there and went to the University of Auburn, Montgomery, where I finished and did my last 2 years playing and did my undergrad in business economics.
Okay.
Then I left there and went to continuously pursue my basketball career. And it landed me overseas, as you say. And did that for about 6, 7 years and took my money. And now I'm a full-time entrepreneur.
All right. So tell us about your journey from professional basketball overseas to where you are now. Let's walk us through that particular phase of life.
Just learning myself, of course, the identity of just trying to figure out who I was outside of basketball, who I was outside of the game and outside of my peers, identifying so much with that. And not really knowing who I could become. So once the journey was it was a long one, but it was one that I developed all my personality traits through. Learn how to be disciplined, learn how to be focused, learn how to push past how I felt, learn team camaraderie, learn how to work well with others. But then again, like I said, after basketball, I didn't know what I was going to do. A lot of the times I went through just a space and time where I was lost. And I think that when we're in a space and time where we're lost, we just tend to do anything to kind of
to buy time or just try to figure stuff out.
Yeah, so buy time and spend money. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of that. I spent a lot of money. I made a lot of poor financial decisions, which pushed me further into a depression. And I just didn't know where I was going to turn. And so I met a couple of people, met a couple of mentors that I have today that kind of showed me a different route and a different way to make my money work for me. And that's what kind of put me into the entrepreneurial space where I am now.
Okay, entrepreneurship is a big umbrella.
It is.
Right? And
Yep.
as I begin to go further in our conversation, I want to say not an interview, but our conversation,
Yeah.
going back to depression, this is one area that people don't really talk about, especially men.
Sure.
Did it make you feel vulnerable? Did it make you feel as if, like, I'm not Joshua, I'm not Josh?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're attached to things, and when those things have been omitted from, our particular life or our current status,
Yeah.
we no longer know how to function.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
your identity was tied to that. So let's talk about depression, because we're seeing a lot of people who are
Yeah.
dealing with depression
Yeah.
from highs to lows.
Yeah. Well, I call it the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You try to hold on to the glory days and all the accolades and all the praise that you got during those glory days. You want to hold on to them, and you want to continue to live out that persona, even though the accolades, the attention, the money is no longer there. So I call it the imposter syndrome because, when you don't know who you are an imposter. And that's what you're presenting to the
That's
world.
right.
Yeah, that's what I was presenting to the world. And so when I didn't see the benefit of, pretending that I was still this person, things wasn't working out, which led to depression because I didn't know what other skills I had. I didn't know what I was good at. I didn't know what I could utilize to build myself up and grow and start a whole new career. And so that depression hit me hard to the point where, I didn't know where I was going to turn and what I was going to do with my life. And the first thing that I decided to do was, if I wanted to change my life, I had to get information. Nothing's going to happen by chance.
Like revelation.
Yeah.
Yes, you need a revelation.
Yeah, you need a revelation and you need information. You need to be able to study, to learn. And another thing, you have to pray. You know what I mean? Because when I was out there playing basketball, I'm going to be honest with you, when the money was coming, it was very few times that I really looked up and thought about God.
That's actually where I was going to go with your faith.
Yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes life will throw you back up against the wall, and all you can do is pray.
Yeah.
And sometimes we turn to God like a genie.
Yeah, for sure.
Help me, bail me out,
yeah.
bail me out of this, right?
Yeah.
So depression has no face.
It doesn't. Yeah.
And I can also attest to living a very lavish life. And then when life began to life,
Yeah.
I went through a season of depression.
Yeah.
So the more life was shifting, I was shopping as if I was still rich. Still shopping,
Yeah.
overspending,
Yeah.
splurging,
Yeah.
turning up until I really hit rock bottom. And sometimes you see it coming.
Yeah. Yeah. But a wise man once told me, he said, you really won't change. He said, the reason you're not changing because you don't have enough pain. Right? So when you start experiencing pain, that's a great indicator to let you know that something needs to happen. Something needs to change. And when you continuously doing something, sometimes we say we let time take care of things because, the old folks back in my neighborhood used to tell me, oh, he just ain't got enough pain yet. It hadn't hit him hard enough for him to want to change and be serious about the change. Yeah.
And I kind of entitled this, this particular series, Men Rebuilding, Faith, Sports,
Yeah.
and Finance.
Yeah.
Because men like finance.
Oh yeah.
Right?
We need it.
it.
Yeah.
Money answers all things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was your experience with playing professional ball overseas
Yeah.
and money? Like, what was your experience? That we know you had the highs and lows, but
Yeah.
what was your experience? How did you feel like when you had all of the money, money, cars, hoes, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, cause that comes with it. Yeah, it comes with it.
In abundance.
In abundance.
Yeah, in abundance.
And then when you realize it's gone,
Yeah.
the people who was all around you, they not there no more.
Yeah.
So what was your experience?
It was, I say this, like, when it's gone, you have people that'll help you spend it, right? But they don't help you make it or save it.
That's true.
Being able to have that money and thinking that it's always going to continuously be there. Never looking down the road, because we hear this saying, well, YOLO, you only live once. You know what I mean? Or we can live for the moment. Like, we not promised tomorrow. Well, that's true in a sense, but sometimes you have to look down the road.
Down the road.
And you having so much fun. You're buying these things. These things are bringing you temporary joy, but it's not really a fulfillment. Because I'm gonna be honest. I mean, you bought cars, right? Once you got that new car, how long did that feeling last, and how soon did it
About
go
a
away?
week till you go to McDonald's.
Right.
And the smell done changed.
Right.
And new leather
Right.
seats done changed.
And then on top of that, you bought the car, you see everybody with it.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
You never seen it before.
Yeah, never seen it
until
before.
you bought that
Yeah.
car. You never seen that
Yeah.
Benz or that Jaguar or
Yeah.
the Bentley until
Yeah.
somebody else had
Yeah.
it.
And that's one thing about the flesh too. Somebody told me, when you're spending all this money and your flesh your ego is being filled. Somebody told me it's like it's like wood, right? And it's like a fire. Right? As long as you keep feeding the fire wood, it's gonna keep burning, right? So if you keep feeding yourself this ego and this rush of buying this stuff, that's what's gonna grow inside of you. And so it's hard to turn that boat around. And eventually, when your life is you don't have the money, you can't even pay bills the way that you used to. And then when you're stuck, it's like, then you have regret because it was a time where you had $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and this was no problem.
Yeah.
So I think, just to piggyback on the depression, it's like I had $100,000. Where did it go? Now I can't even afford to pay the simple bills that I had. So yeah, I think that transition to me understanding that money, I need to become a master of it because it doesn't have any emotion. It will leave you. It will leave you.
So you said you're an entrepreneur. In what areas?
Quite a few things.
Come on, spill the tea.
Yeah. So, of course, I do credit repair. I started doing that about 12 years ago before it blew up. Like I got in the game early on the ground level. Then that transitioned me to understanding business, how to leverage a business, how to use a business effectively to get some of the things that I needed and stop having to rely so much on my personal.
Right.
Then from there, once I understood it all, I started doing business acquisitions. So I was able to commandeer businesses based on my financing and funding capabilities. Simply just saying, hey, if you're a business owner and you want to sell, if it's profitable, and it's a turnkey, I'm able to commandeer that from you and make it my own and borrow against the business that I now own.
Oh, wow.
So I'm basically doubling up the profitability or the fundability from the business that I acquired. Same thing you do with a house. If you buy a house and you pull the equity out, you use it to go. Yeah. So that's the same thing that happens with businesses. But a lot of people don't explore that. Yeah. So then I got into the exotic cars in Miami. Partnered with some guys out there and started.
Those are the ones you see at the airport.
Yeah.
The exotic cars like Enterprise.
Yeah. Well. I mean, so you have it's a tier. You have exotic, you have luxury, and you have normal sport.
Basics,
right.
yeah.
So the exotic is, the cars that's over
Like the Lamborghini. I'm in a new Bugatti.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, you want to stunt on somebody. You know what I'm saying? We could do it. So yeah, so those are just the web of things that I've been able to do, and plus investing, real estate investment. You know what I mean? Investing in property. So it's just a whole conglomerate of things that, getting the money, diversifying your portfolio is just and it's still going. It's still ongoing today. Like I'm in process of developing a app and looking to bring it to market in a couple of months.
Okay.
So yeah.
So let me ask you, what are some common pitfalls that you've seen with your industry or coming out of, with athletes or people in the industry?
Yeah.
What are some common pitfalls have you noticed or experienced?
Just not the number one thing that I noticed with a lot of athletes and money, is that they don't really realize the people. They don't know how to pick their circle properly. That's a big thing where they think that everybody wants to be their friend, but they don't understand that they're only your friend because of what you have, and that's the unrecognized truth. I know it hurts, but a lot of people, if you weren't playing basketball, if you weren't an athlete, if you weren't making the money that you were making, these majority of these
wouldn't
people
even be around you.
they wouldn't even be around. And so, coming to that realization, you're lonely. You don't have anybody. You know what I'm saying? So I see a lot of athletes. They're very lonely, and not lonely in the sense of having people around, but lonely in the sense of not really knowing who they can trust. You know what I mean? Not really knowing who they can really lean on. You know. So
Can you say that it's just limited to athletes or in general?
yeah, it's a generalized thing, because I think a lot of people that's on a trajectory going towards success, it's some people that you got to get rid of. You know, because everybody's not able to have a vision and lock into that vision, and is willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And you got to understand the world, and you know this, the world is full of evil.
It is.
And it's like a maze. It's full of distractions trying to pull you down. You know, it's full of distractions trying to
Get your
and
attention and shift you off of course.
Right.
Yes.
And most people, I would probably say 90% of people, you know, are going to give in to their desires instead of staying on course.
Now, what role does mindset have in all of this? You know, because we think.
Sure.
We're analytical.
Yeah.
We process information.
Sure.
The mindset of people that you have encountered, especially with credit business, financial literacy, the mindset, as a man thinks, so is he.
So is he.
Right? So talk about that, because you can only walk into your purpose or anything based upon how you think.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, well, I say this: the psychological aspect of guarding your mind, not understanding that the mental aspect. You first of all, you have to have clear intentions, and I think me and you spoke about this at one point. When you have clear intentions, you have elevated emotion. A lot of people don't make their intentions clear, and when you make your intentions clear, you can pretty much focus your mind on what it is that you want. But the mindset, most people don't work. They'll go to the gym and work on their muscles before they work on their mind, and their mind is the strongest muscle that you have.
Again. Say that one more again.
I said people will go to the gym and work on their muscles, their body muscles, before they work on their mind muscles.
And why you think that?
Because we're hardwired and we're programmed to think a certain way. And one of the hardest things to do is to change, right? So whenever you try to change, it's a program that you're operating on, and your body's always going to try to pull you back into that program.
To that default pattern.
Right, to that, the reset, factory reset.
Factory reset, right.
So what I tell people all the time is you have to be extremely intentional in order to change, because everything that you want is already created for you, right? But again, it's your faith, your ability to focus, and your intentions, because I think that the universe, you should speak positive things out of your mouth. But I think affirmations, right. But I think the universe truly responds to action. And that's what most people stop. They don't know how to put things in action. So you can confess, you can affirm all you want, but until you actually do, it won't respond.
So let's look at faith. You talked about faith.
Right.
So we see faith. Nothing is dead about faith.
Right.
Faith is either a noun or a verb.
Right. Action.
Right?
Action. Yep.
Action.
Right.
Anything about faith, if it's dead, faith without works is dead, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So to what you're saying, you mean that there are so many people who talk faith, but don't walk faith.
They don't walk it. Right. Right.
So coming from basketball, going into business, you had to make some movement.
Right.
The universe, right?
Right.
Speaking to that it has to be some alignment, and that you're funneling in to what has already been there.
Because I'm gonna tell you what, when you put action to what you really want, you'll meet people along the way to help you.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's the thing, because you're putting the action to what you want, you're going to meet a like-minded people if you stay on the course. So like a lot of times before I do something, I'm thinking about how. The most important thing is why. It's not how. It's why. If why I'm doing it is bigger than my how, then I don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. But every time I put action to what I really wanted to do, and I got stuck because I'm operating on that frequency, because I'm operating on that energy, right? And I'm putting action, I'm meeting a like-minded individuals who's either on the same path or have already done it. So this is about traveling a road and knowing that as you travel this road, you're going to have people that's going to have things that you're going to need.
So similar to like a marathon. So in New York, we have marathons, right?
Right.
So it starts as a 5-borough marathon. So it goes Staten Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, right? Yeah. So it's the 5 boroughs.
Right.
It's similar to a marathon because you start in Staten Island.
Yeah.
You see some people there.
Yeah.
Handing you cups of water along the way. Then when
sure.
you get to Manhattan, you meet another set of people.
Yeah.
So life is this journey.
Yes.
It's a marathon.
Yes.
Because God has already specifically put people along the journey. Yeah. But you got to take that step forward.
You got to take that step forward.
You got to come out of your comfort zone.
Yes. And that's the problem. Most people stop at the action. Because remember, I spoke to you about the programming.
Yes.
So the body wants to stay where it is. It doesn't want to grow. It doesn't want to. Yeah. It doesn't want. And this is something that the church doesn't really teach.
We're come on now.
Yeah. So we're talking about application. We're talking about
practical.
Yeah.
Application.
Practicality. Yes. Yes. So what I'm saying is that it's outside of the spirit realm, right? It's laws that God put here that governs this society, right? Mm-hmm. So,
like the ocean can't come but so far. Yes.
Or here's a more common one: gravity. What goes up must come down, right? So, if I'm a good person, and this is why I think the church is kind of lost in a sense where they think because they're good, they do the right thing, that everything's gonna come into their life.
They over spiritualize.
Right. They over spiritualize. But let's say, you ever seen a person that doesn't have a relationship with God that's evil, that may do a lot of evil things, but they're successful? And the church will look back and question, like, well, why is this person successful? They don't even have a relationship with God. They don't really, they don't pray. They don't worship him because of the law that I just spoke about, the universal law.
Right.
Meaning that if I'm a good person and you're a bad person, let's say you steal, kill, rob, I give back to charity, I'm feeding the homeless. If we both go outside and plant tomato seeds, we both water it, we give it the proper sunlight, we're both going to grow tomatoes.
That's right.
It didn't matter whether you were good or bad. It didn't matter whether I was good or bad.
You worked the principle.
I worked the law.
You
right?
worked the law, yeah.
And so these are the laws that I think govern spirituality, but it also governs success and wealth on a spiritual, financial, and mental level in the earth.
Yes.
That's why I feel like the more spiritual you are sometimes, and this is not a knock on anybody that's spiritual, but the more spiritual you are, the less you're privy to these laws.
I agree.
Right. So in these laws govern success. And God is, and this is the thing, God is sovereign, right? So no matter how much you pray to him, he's not going to go against the law. Right? No matter how much you beg and keep going to him, he's not going to go against the law. That means that if you want to go on this roof,
he's never going to go against his word.
Right.
Or his principle.
Right.
That's right.
Right. So if you want to go outside and stand on this building and jump off this roof, I promise you the angels ain't going to catch you.
The angel ain't going to catch you.
I promise you they're not going to catch you.
It is not. Yeah. That's why I'm not falling. Because even gravity with women, let's say, for example, women, gravity is showing on some of us. I don't care how much your nips and tuck and all of that, them noses, them, the body parts. Gravity is going to fall at some point, the cellulite, all of that.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. And that is a law.
Yeah.
I need to bind that gravity law. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't really believe.
Right.
The laws.
They don't believe the laws. And you know what's so crazy about the laws?
So if you don't believe the law, you go to jail, right?
You go to jail. Right. That's another
If
analogy.
you don't obey the law of the land.
Yes.
Who is on the quarter?
Yeah.
Who's on the dollar?
Yes.
Right? If you don't pay your taxes.
Yes. The law of the land.
The law of the land.
Yeah.
The law of reciprocity.
Yeah.
What you give out, you get back.
Yeah. And you know what's so crazy? This is what helps you streamline success. So whereas it takes a person years to accomplish something, you can cut that in half by 6 months. You can cut it in half. I mean, you can get to your destination 10 times faster versus somebody who doesn't understand this. That's why you see a lot of people, it's like running on a treadmill. You running
It's an illusion.
Yeah, you're running in place, but you ain't going nowhere.
Calories, but we ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, but that's why the stress comes. That's why the depression comes, because you're going on this program and you think you're doing all the right things, but you're not being effective and you're not going where you need to go. You're going through the motions. So you have to be willing to throw a monkey wrench in the program. You know what I mean? To shift something.
Right.
To
get a different result.
Right. And then something else is going to happen. You know how many times things have happened to me just because I showed up to a different environment, a different place. All I had to do was just show up. Right. And be myself. The connections, the networking, the opportunities came because I went and did something different than what I would normally do. Most people stay at home. Most people don't like to network. Most people don't realize that you can't do anything in the earth without relationships.
That's right.
So if you don't go and build relationships, that's why every group of entrepreneurs and wealthy people, they always tell you.
Have a network.
Yeah, the network.
Right.
They always talk about networking, collaborating, because partnership is so important in growing.
That's right.
If you handle everything on your own, if you try to do 15 different parts, you're going to burn out.
So that's why you need a team.
You need a team.
You need a network.
Sure.
To increase your net worth.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And then also going back to, you said 6 months.
Right.
I'm just going back 6 months ago. This was just a thought.
Yeah.
So with proper planning.
Yes.
And putting laws in place.
Yes.
For the podcast to come to pass.
Yes.
But we prayed about it first.
Yes.
Is this God's timing? We prayed.
Right.
But it took 6 months for it to matriculate. But we were working on a plan and working the law.
Right.
Write the vision down.
Yeah.
Make it plain.
Yeah.
And run with it.
That's right.
And if we don't run with it, it's just going to be a dream.
That's
it's just going to be a vision.
That's right.
So that's why we see the cemetery is full of people who died.
Yes.
With potential.
Yes.
People in the cemetery, that's full of gifts.
Right.
That they have never tapped into. The law.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to throw a little shift in here.
Okay, sure.
He's a man of faith.
Yeah.
You know what loss feels like.
Yeah.
You know what grief feels like.
Sure.
You know what it is for God to bounce you back. Let me put a spin on here. Right. We're in a day and age where the dating pool is a little toxic.
Very toxic.
The pool got baby Pampers in it.
Yeah, for sure.
It got all kind of stuff.
Yeah, peace.
Right? You're a Christian man. I'm a Christian woman. There's people who are watching who may have a different faith or different belief system. Right. But I'm sure they're going through similar situations with the dating pool.
Yes.
Tell us what's your perspective on love.
I think, and
you got to go deep for this one.
Okay. So I think first of all, you can't give what you don't have.
That's why that joker couldn't love me right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why he was no good. No, I'm joking. Go ahead,
you're right. Say it. Let it out. This is the place to do it. Let it out.
All right, Doctor.
Yeah.
Dr.
For sure.
Josh.
For sure. Let it out.
He couldn't love me.
Somebody got a tissue. You got a tissue?
All my life, I had to fight.
Right.
I don't want you.
Yes,
I don't need you.
Yes. Eat. What they say? Eat the cake out of me. Just eat the cake. Just do what I tell you to do. This is it. That's all you got to do. Just write the song how I wrote. Sing the song. Sing it how I wrote it.
Keep on rolling. Listen, now tell us your perspective of love. You can't give it if you don't have it.
Well, I think most of us have a flawed sense of love, right? Because I feel like, again, you can't give what you don't have. But we don't have a great disposition of self first. And then we go out here and think, let's just put this in perspective. Hypothetically speaking, let's say we meet, right? And this is just hypothetical. You have a dad that wasn't around. You've been abused. You've been touched. Let's say you've been disrespected. Undervalued. You've been homeless. This is from an adolescent to, let's say, your 20s, right? So let's say 20 years you've experienced just negative emotion, disappointment, letdown, all these negative emotions. And let's say you do believe in love. right? You're not necessarily bitter or angry, but you've never been shown it. But you still believe in it. Right. And let's say you meet a guy. His mother was very abusive. Mother was very disrespectful. Let's say he'd been to jail a couple of times. Let's just say he was homeless as well. He's going to develop his own psychological problems and issues as well. Let's say y'all meet and you see something in him that you like. He sees something in you that he likes. You guys hit it off. Well, what love does, sometimes it blinds us because you never even pay attention to all this psychological stuff that this person went through. You don't even care about it. You
just want somebody to love.
Right. So the issue is what catches up later is that all these little experiences from the time they met you, and we're not even including failed relationships. So from the time they meet you, you put an unrealistic expectation on them to be what you need. So the issue with love is that most people, they're blinded by it because they don't know it. So you're never going to have a sustainable union when you have an agenda, because God doesn't look at us like that. You see what I'm saying? And we talk about this kind of love, but it's real.
We haven't possessed it.
We haven't possessed it, and it's scary because what that means is you have to love that person enough to let them be who they are, right? And so it's hard to do that because you have an agenda. You have given them the keys to your emotions. So now they can turn it on and turn it off whenever, right? And you have enough of those experiences. What do you think is going to happen? It's happening to a lot of women today where they opted out to say, okay, I don't need a man. I want to be single because it's just too much.
That is not my forte.
Right,
Let me just put
That's
that
not
out
you.
there.
That's not you.
You feel me?
That's not you.
Because I have been created to need a man.
Yeah.
Let's put that out there.
Yeah.
But not just any man.
Yeah.
A man of God, a man that's coming, the man that's going to update my life, all right, and bring me up to another level, and a man that's going to protect, provide, and cultivate what's already inside.
Amen.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. So I think love is just, nurturing without forming an opinion. And that's one of the hardest, that's the hardest thing to do because love automatically puts expectations on somebody. But see, that's the thing about the relationship people have with God. If God punished you and left you for everything that you did, right? He put these expectations on you and you didn't meet them. If he forgave you, if he allowed you to, if he gave you recompense and reconciliation, why is it, this is the $1 million question, why is it you can't do that with another person?
And I guess that some people would say because he's God, he's sovereign. We get all mystical and deep.
Right.
But that's a hard question.
Right.
Because if I was, you were Hosea, for example, hypothetically, and I'm Gomer.
Right.
Why would God make me marry a prostitute?
Right.
Why would God make you marry a prostitute?
Right.
Why would he do something? Is it for us to learn that his love is perfect in our weaknesses?
That's right.
But it's hard for us to see that, especially when we have been disappointed.
Yes.
We have an expectation, especially women. I didn't grow up in no fairy tale world. I was like, I ain't built for this love stuff. I'm not falling in love. Ain't no dude gonna break my heart because I'm about to be Jackie Chan out this piece. No man ain't gonna break my heart because you wanna know what? What really, really stemmed from me not wanting to love was the root of rejection.
Yeah.
The father that my mother said was my father was not my father.
Right.
And when he realized I wasn't his biological child anymore, he was the first man that fractured my view on even receiving a man to love me. So I had put a vow in my heart that I will never, ever allow a man to ever speak to me or discard me the way he did.
Yeah.
So when I found out who my biological father was, I believed that he was unavailable to give me the love that I needed. But I had built up a propensity that I ain't got to fall in love.
Yeah. So let me tell you what God does.
Okay.
Let me tell you what's so ironic about God. sometimes you have people in third world countries that's born in poverty stricken
Yes.
situations. God is no respecter of persons, right? So you may ask the question, why are these people born in these harsh conditions? And here I am born in this luxury of life. But that's what life is. When you're born, you're dropped. You don't get to pick
You don't
anything.
get to pick.
So when you're dropped in these places, you have to find your way back to him and back to real love. Everything that you do or everything that you experience is designed to affect the way you love.
You know, I could not love God
Yeah.
as a father.
Yeah.
It took me a long while
Yeah.
to love him like a dad. Let me tell you why. Because that side of me was wounded.
Yeah.
So I knew he was God.
Right.
Bless me, God.
Yeah.
But for me to acknowledge him as dad
Yeah.
and that fatherly love, it took a lot of breaking and a lot of time with me spending time with someone I knew who really loved me.
You know, love is love. I saw something today where love is the greatest nutrition, right? So if it's the greatest nutrition and it's supposed to build you and give you all this nourishment, the devil's number one job is to affect your love walk. His job is to affect the way that you love.
Malnourished.
Right. It's designed to be that way because we look at people as the source. And when you die, right, you're going to have to stand before God on your own and be held in account of what you've done. It's not you and another person. But when God brings two people together, the union is designed to teach you some things spiritually because remember, we're spirits.
Yes.
We're not flesh.
Yes.
This is just a vessel.
My vessel.
Right.
Yes.
So it's things outside of your circumference of awareness that you don't know. And it's a spiritual growth thing. But if you keep leaning on how you feel, you have to be able to think greater than how you feel. Because the spirit doesn't know time. It doesn't know it doesn't know all the things that the body knows. So when you look at people from a spiritual perspective, you know that automatically they're flawed.
Yes.
People are flawed.
Yes, we are flawed.
So when you're a child and you don't understand this yet, as you become an adult, you have to go back and forgive, because forgiving is a spiritual thing. If you hold on to how you felt about what you went through, you can't walk in the spirit because you have to go back and let that go. And that's why God pushes forgiveness, because it's affecting your love walk and the spirit. So you're going to attract what you are. It's a lot of people that attract bad relationships because they haven't let stuff go. So guess what? The universe is going to keep sending them the same thing. Going to keep replaying.
The law of attraction.
Right.
You attract
Absolutely.
what you are.
Absolutely. And then you have people that broadcast this negative perception of love and relationship and hurt. And that's what they push. Right. And so it's no more union. It's more me and
divisive.
You. It's divisive.
Yes.
Because they have never went back. And then out of your love, you make bad picking choices.
Because love is blind.
Yeah. So you're choosing the outcome. You're choosing the same scenario in the same situation. So how can you have this overall negative view on love when you're picking it?
I know, like for me, I had an idea of being married.
Yeah.
My heart never committed to marriage.
Absolutely.
Right? So when I'm married, I had the idea of being married because you want to do things in the sight of God right.
Sure.
But deep down inside, when I began to ask God, I said, why did you give me this man? He said, you picked him. You ain't wait for the maturation. And sometimes we pick for now and not where we're going.
And I feel so bad for women in general, because again, they've been sold this fairy tale of love,
and it's not there.
And they get as they age and as they grow, they still have this same fairy tale. When if you look at the fruit of the spirit, one of them is long suffering. That's the one people. That's the one you want to X out.
Give me an example of long suffering. I'm gonna give you one of mine.
Well, long suffering is this. It's if you go through the long suffering, meaning that it's an uncomfortable situation, but because it's so uncomfortable, you run from it. But anything that's uncomfortable strengthens you because you have to persevere. So if you're looking at
building resistance,
right, it's
right?
building resilience and resistance, right?
Right. Yes.
So, but most people are their whole life is predicated on being comfortable. So if your whole life is predicated on being comfortable, having the right situation, meeting the right my person, you're not going to accept the flaws in them anyway.
I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman, and he was saying, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. He said that a woman has to adjust more than a man because a man is naturally going to protect.
Yes.
A man is naturally going to take on the role of providing,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Whereas a woman, she's going to have to really make a lot of adjustments, like submitting to a
Yes.
headship,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Following the order of the man protecting. I lock my alarm system at night.
Yeah.
The person said that's not your job when you have
Yeah.
a protector.
Yeah.
There's certain things, and I think it's role specific.
Yeah.
Or some roles in a home may be different.
Yeah.
But when a man comes, I know I have a lot of adjustments to do for
Right,
me.
right.
Because after being independent for so long, and after, you know, how do I think this is love? I feel like it's control, like bondage or something.
Well,
but it's a perspective going back to the spiritual aspect,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, you have to understand God's plan, and you have to understand what do you want your relationship to look like.
You want it to look like God.
Right. So if what you're doing is counterproductive to what you want, you're living in delusion. Clarity is seeing things exactly the way that they are. It's not what you making up in your mind, right? But the thing is that God didn't give you an alarming amount of testosterone. He didn't give you these big muscles. He didn't give you this strong back. He didn't give you the ability to see danger. He didn't give you that. He gave that to a man. That's why if you get into it with another man and you call the police, who you gonna want to show up?
A man.
If you're in a burning building, and you need right. So it's okay for them to show up in those situations, but it's not okay for them to show up in your situation. You know what I mean?
That one is that one. Ouch. Yeah.
It's real. But we don't. But that's the delusion.
Even with changing a tire.
But that's the deception that the devil uses.
Right.
It's deception because once you get over into the mindset that it's hard for me to submit, right? You're actually saying, you're sending out a signal saying, I don't want to be protected. I don't want to be saved, right? Because no matter how much money you have, no matter how many other things that you're able to do for yourself, it's still some things that you weren't designed to do. So if you don't understand that, hey, I'm not designed for this. Now I understand out of survival you do those things.
Yes.
But we don't know how to have platonic relationships with the opposite sex to just be able
healthy,
to lean,
yes, healthy friendships.
just be able to lean on a masculine or a feminine energy at times. It don't have to be sexual.
It doesn't.
Right. So, but if you only look at it as sexual and intimate, then you're going to know that it's going to be short lived because now you have soul ties. And so now when the other person doesn't do what the other person expected them now to do. you don't mind losing that protection. So you're back to square one. So you have to learn that, okay, I need to grow spiritually so I can connect to a man in a platonic way just to get that spiritual nourishment from that masculine energy. Doesn't always have to be romantic.
It does not.
Right. And he don't always have to look a certain way.
So I want you to look to the camera.
Yes.
You know, as we are dealing with faith, sports, finances, and love.
Right.
I think we need to do a round two.
Yeah.
We need to.
For sure.
You need to have a dating show.
Oh man.
You need to educate these brothers and sisters.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. When you have your show, I'm coming on as a guest.
Come on.
You better give me an hour.
I know.
Right?
2 hours.
2 hours.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about and to unpackage in a healthy way.
Right.
Right. And I think that somebody that is watching right now, encourage the people that are watching right now as we begin to close. And I thank you for coming for Tea Time with Dr. Kelly. Yeah. And this is the best is yet to come for you.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe that your voice is going to be extensive.
Yes.
People are going to hear this and be like, where did this guy come
Yeah,
from?
yeah.
You know, there's 7.8 billion people. Sometimes we think we know everybody.
Yeah.
We don't.
We don't.
Right?
We don't.
So speak to the camera and encourage some man or some woman who is watching, who may be going through depression,
Yeah.
loss,
Right.
you know, disparaging things that they're going through.
Yeah.
You know, just life is happening.
Yeah.
Encourage them today.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna be too long-winded, but what I would say is, work on your mind first. Go back into your past and understand where you went wrong and what you need to correct in your mental aspect, your mental life. And I think that once it starts with you, if you love yourself enough, if you appreciate you, it will be displayed outwardly, and you'll start attracting what you need. But it starts with self first, and get around a good group of people that can encourage you, love on you, and go out and find those people. Don't be in the house thinking that your life is going to change. Go out and interact and get with people that are like-minded, that can support you and help you grow in those areas.
And where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so my Facebook is Josh Rand, Dr. Josh Rand. My Instagram is JR, I got to change it, _007.
All right, the original James Bond.
Yeah, James Bond, yeah, because I was a slickster. But I'm delivered. But but I'm mostly on Facebook. My TikTok is my company, Wealth Revolution Industries. And yeah, you can find me on there. Yeah.
Yes, and just a fun fact about yourself, Josh just graduated with his doctorate.
Yes, I did.
Right? Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Doctor to doctor.
Doctor.
Hey. So we thank God for every person who has viewed. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and tag to somebody. Somebody's going to be blessed by this. This is your host, Dr. Nabia Kelly, your podcaster. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Tea Time with Dr. Kelly, where you spill the tea and we pour back into you. Peace.